February 11th, Port Orchard City Council regular meeting. And before we start our meeting, I'd like to remind us of our guiding principles and the actions we are about to take. Are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building positive connections with our community and outside partners? And is the decision-making process building a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community? Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we dive into our agenda, I just want to point out a couple of Scrivener's errors in our consent item E. It says it's a work study meeting. It's a council meeting. And the business item A is also a council meeting, not a work study. And then you will be having an executive section at the end of the meeting with no action to follow. All right, we have a published agenda. Are there any proposed amendments to this evening's agenda? Councilmember Shank.
Yeah, I'd like to ask that we move consent agenda 4C to business.
Second. There's a motion and a second to remove business item 4C, which is the approval of a final plat for Stetson Ridge. Discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Councilmember Chang why we would want to move that off consent.
I had questions about the stormwater issues related to the project, and I just thought it'd be nice to have them answered again.
And I would like to listen a little bit more, too, about the project.
Questions about the motion on the table? All in favor of removing consent item 4C and making it business item 7B, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Two nays, so that does get moved to business item, so that is... See, just give me a moment here. Right. Any other proposed amendments to this evening's agenda? Is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as amended. Or, I'm sorry, our agenda as amended. We're not to the consent part yet.
Second.
By Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Trineri to approve the amended agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The agenda has been set for tonight. We have our agenda set. We're to our citizen comment period. And if anyone wishing to address the council, you have 3 minutes to address the council. Just step to the microphone. And if you could just identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Mayor Putansu, class of SK 1985. I wanted to introduce myself. I'm Carol Kowalski. I'm with the South Kitsap Public Education Foundation, 20 years of serving our community and building impact to make sure our kids can thrive. You know, we always think about strong schools, and they make strong communities, right? And now, more than ever, that's true right here in South Kitsap. Our schools shape our future workforce. We see that with our companies and our community leaders and the next generations of leaders. I'm really excited that they are the heart of our community. When we belong together, we work together. So this is a very personal invitation to each of you to consider coming to our very first South Kitsap Night of Inspiration and Impact. It's April 25th. It's a Friday night in McCormick. We will be celebrating our students through our alumni, through an achievement award. We'll be celebrating our educators with an educator award. We'll be celebrating our philanthropists through a legacy award. And most importantly, we'll be celebrating you, our community, and our community leaders. This is going to be happening every year as a catalyst for good to bring us together for the future. So do mark your calendars and join us and join the community members and business leaders together as we make a better future for our students. Every student counts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I should say, our theme is opening the umbrella, so we'll open our umbrellas together.
Others wishing to address the council?
So I put together my stuff. I couldn't fit it. I've got two versions. I got a little longer version. I got a version I think I get in 3 minutes. So do you want the little longer version, or do you want me to give you the condensed version? I'm just trying to give you as much information I can about the riveting topic of cabaret licenses.
Our citizen comment period is 3 minutes.
I'm asking for your permission. Which one do you want? Do you want the shorter version, or can I go with the little long? It's about 4 minutes and 50 seconds I got it down to.
I don't mind for the second.
Is there a motion to extend our citizen comment period?
As long as it's not over 5 minutes,
It's literally right there. So again, I'm happy to do the shorter one too. I just
I
wanted to
second that.
indulge it.
Is there a motion or not?
Oh, I motion that it goes a little longer,
How long are you asking for?
under 5.
yeah, keep it under
4.
5, I'd be okay.
It's
I can
literally
second
right
under
there.
5. Okay.
Yep.
Motion and a second.
I'll second.
All in favor of extending the citizen comment period to no more than 5 minutes? Please say aye, or maybe show of hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, those opposed? Nay, and I have the tiebreaker, and I will say nay, so.
Okay, shorter version.
Yeah, I'd like to make this comment too.
What's that?
Can I make a comment? Would you mind emailing us the longer version of
I
it?
brought you all copies.
Perfect.
Just
Give
in
them,
Nice.
give them to the clerk.
Could I yield some of my time to him?
You know, sir, you cannot.
So then, Rob, I just wanted to say, for me, it's a matter of equity for everybody that comes and speaks to us.
Oh, no,
So I appreciate
I get it. There's not many people here, that's why I asked, so. We ready? Okay. Thank you for considering it. Robert McGee for the record. So, good evening, members of the Portage City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to advocate for the removal of the cabaret license requirement in our city. While initially well-intended, these licenses have become outdated, burdensome, and counterproductive in today's environment. Live performances are a vital part of artistic expression, and yet a cabaret license creates unnecessary restrictions, limiting what venues can offer and acting as a form of censorship. Portage deserves an arts and entertainment scene that reflects its diversity, but not one constrained by outdated regulations. The cabaret license process adds unnecessary costs for small businesses and consumes valuable time and resources that could otherwise be spent growing their business. These added burdens limit economic opportunities and stifle local nightlife. And it's vital that we have, it's vital for our community to thrive and for local businesses to survive the challenges that they face currently. Processing these licenses requires significant staff time from the city, requiring multiple city departments far outweighing the revenue they generate. This is an inefficient use of city resources, and those resources could be better directed to more pressing community needs. These regulations for fire safety, the regulations for fire safety, liquor licenses, and occupancy limits, those are already necessary for public safeguards and already in place. The cabaret licenses are redundant. It adds an unnecessary layer of oversight that strains city resources without providing any additional benefits. There's also a concern about selective enforcement, which erodes trust in the city's regulatory system, and it can disproportionately impact certain venues, creating inequality and undermining community fairness. Port Orchard can look to New York from 2017 and their decision to rescind its cabaret license. They found that relying on existing regulations was more effective in promoting artistic expression, supporting small businesses, and streamlining the administrative process. So here's some proposed alternatives I offer to you. Instead of a cabaret license, we can focus on more effective solutions. Community engagement. Using existing zoning or community boards to address specific concerns on a case-by-case, this is one option. Targeted regulations. Use current ordinances to handle issues like noise and safety without stifling creativity or growth. Provide clear guidelines. If further regulation is necessary, establish clear, objective criteria to ensure businesses know what's required and they can comply easily. So in conclusion, the cabaret license no longer serves its purpose. It burdens small businesses, wastes city resources, and creates inconsistencies in enforcement. By removing this outdated regulation, we can foster a more vibrant, inclusive community while maintaining public safety through existing laws. Thank you for considering this change, and I look forward to working with you on how we can modernize and regulate entertainment in Port Orchard.
Mr. Mayor, I have a
Thank you.
clarifying,
Thank you for your comments.
I have a clarifying question for Rob. Can you describe what is actually occurring in the cabaret operation on that particular night, so I have a better understanding of what it is you're talking about?
Well, so the cabaret license, it's kind of a dated thing, and it came about just for live venues. A lot of it came from the adult industry too. And so what it does, it allows me to have live music. But the reality is, I'm already allowed to have live music for the occupancies and licenses that I obtained to become a business. For example, this is what I got from Angela for the fire code portion of it, right? So a portion of it goes to fire, a portion of it goes to DCD. And so this is the response. Approved occupant loads for the space must not be exceeded. Well, I already have to adhere to that. So it's just a redundant thing that we're doing. All exits must remain open and clear. That's very redundant. So we're just duplicating a process that's already there. Then you go to DCD. All signage must comply with Port Orchard Municipal Code. Well, of course it does. And so we're not gaining anything from the license. And arguably it takes DCD, fire, the clerk, billing, and probably the finance, the GLs, just to do this stuff. It's a $200 license. I guarantee you're spending more in that in labor just to process it and to send out notifications. So I think we're wasting our time on this thing. I think last year in the records request I took, I think you made $3,300. There's not much there. It just seems like we should eliminate it.
And just one last question for me. We're talking about an indoor venue?
Yeah, we've got obviously a big event. Yeah, they're gonna have to pull permits, you know, we do the car shows and stuff
Okay,
like that. That's
just
a
wanted to be
different
clear
thing,
on
and
that,
that
yeah.
doesn't apply to the cabaret license.
Okay.
These are just to have a guitarist, karaoke, dancing, things like that in establishments. Typically, they are associated with bars and places like that, typically. But that's what it's all about.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You bet for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council? You have 3 minutes. Can you please identify yourself for the record?
I'm Troy. Well, so, kind of about a year ago, so I ran out of my
Sir,
car.
sir, could you step to the microphone and identify yourself for the record?
I got ran over by a car, you know, big old holes like that in my head, bunch of other injuries. Obviously should have been dead many times over. Soon as I started walking again, attacked from behind by, well, some of your gentlemen, shattered my face, my head, my hand. The next night, multiple facial fractures, jaw shattered. I'm eating a sandwich, watching people die around me. Not a problem, right? Obviously, superior healing. Well documented on camera, the accidents, and my recovery. The next night after that, got home, punched to the jaw, to the broken jaw, the shattered face. Half hour later, eating a meal. I obviously heal well. And that's slow speed. Obviously superior. I've been in this county since 1980, raised by special forces and scientist, also well documented. I was gaslighted, kept from understanding that I am something else. Recently, your gentleman attacked me after people had told me that I had repressed memories, I'd been through trauma. When I started studying and remembering such, is when these overt attacks started happening with these severe injuries, which definitely showed physical evidence that I am something else from what I was led to believe that I was growing up. And as it's documented that my father worked in the space program, my father was a master at arms. Gentleman lived in my house, later became one of the top biologists as a professor. At the time, his partner was the top biologist in his field and written many books. I didn't hang out with him much, but I did help him move his museum when he changed locations. Like I said, I was gaslighted when I was a child until recently. I've been studying, getting memories back. Been attacked several times since I've been working on it. I was also trained by some of your top martial artists from the military. Lived with their senior students, lived with me. When they attacked me, they went down. I did not realize what had happened at the time. It seems to be that your courts, city and county, are still trying to bully me and push me around while I'm being polite like this in the face of such attacks. Now, if your gentleman and your type would stop trying to threaten me with violence.
Sir,
while
please,
I'm being nice.
sir, please address the city council.
And, well, they're the ones that attacked me. So they're your enforcers, I understand that, how I studied politics and warfare, as I stated who I was raised by. But I'm trying to see where this is going, now that I'm aware of some of the things that have happened in my life. And these are the pleasant things. So other things I've been studying and going over are not nearly so pleasant. As you can imagine, the things that the government might do to such as myself.
Sir, your time is up this evening.
So if any of you would like to have a cup of coffee
Sir.
this evening and discuss
Sir.
things,
Sir, your time is up this evening. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Sir, please have a seat. Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
would any of you like to have me for a cup of coffee later and discuss some things?
Does anybody else have comments?
Concerning
Anybody else have comments?
Is anyone else wishing to address the council?
Just a reminder, Mayor, we do have one person online, so if you can just ask them to raise their hand if they're interested.
And if you're the individual online, if you're wishing to address the council, use the raise your hand feature and the clerk will bring you into the meeting. Okay, I don't see them raising their hand. Anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council? See no one, I will close the first citizen comment period. We have a published consent agenda item, which which is now items A, B, D, E, F, and G. Is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, let's try this again. I'd like to motion the consent agenda as amended, please.
Second.
By Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Rosapepe to approve the amended consent agenda. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda has been approved for this evening. We have no presentations, we have no public hearings. We have two business items at this time, the first of which is the approval of the January 28th City Council, that is the regular meeting. And is there a motion to approve that? Wiener, who is absent,
Yep.
you can. Okay. Yes, you may. Somebody, yes, you can vote on it. Councilmember Rosepepe, go ahead.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes of January 28th as presented.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Rosepepe, a second by Councilmember Terneri to approve the January 28th council meeting minutes, and I believe I'll get an abstention.
That's correct.
All in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, and one abstention. Minutes pass 5-0. We have item B, which is the former item 4C on the consent agenda, which is the Stetson Ridge final plat. Mr. Bond, do you have a staff report?
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. The City Council is asked to consider the approval of a resolution granting approval for the final plat of the Ridge at Stetson Heights. Early in the development of the Stetson Heights subdivision, a future development tract was created that is centrally located within Stetson Heights. This future development tract received preliminary plat approval as the Ridge at Stetson Heights on December 6, 2022. A SEPA mitigated determination of non-significance was issued for the Ridge subdivision on October 7th, 2022. Although the Ridge is a standalone project, the initial grading of the site occurred in 2018 and 2019 under the land disturbing activity permit for the entire Stetson Heights project site. Due to the Ridge being centrally located within Stetson Heights, access to the site is provided via roads within Stetson Heights, and stormwater is directed to from the Ridge to the existing 4 detention ponds constructed within Stetson Heights. The Ridge at Stetson Heights subdivision creates 108 single-family residential lots. Infrastructure associated with the final plat is being dedicated to the city of Port Orchard. Streets within this final plat are for public use and will be accepted into the city's road system. The applicant has installed or bonded for roadway illumination, roads, sidewalks, landscaping, water and sewer, storm drainage improvements, signage, and other required improvements. Proposed bonds and bond estimates are summarized as follows. There's a performance bond for temporary stormwater pond removal and final lot grading for $39,000. There's a proposed landscape performance bond for the common open space areas with work to be completed within the next 100 days for $148,900. There's a landscape performance bond for the finished lots with work to be completed as home building occurs for $556,378.50. And there is a performance bond for land disturbing activity and stormwater drainage permit, PW 19-051 and PW 19-052, closeout and this supplements the previously received bonds that have been provided to the city. There's also a maintenance bond that will be provided for all of the dedicated improvements on the bill of sale. The bond cost estimates are attached to the packet, and we emailed out today. There's a $1 million bond agreement. That's the supplemental bond that was listed in the previous list, and I emailed that to all of you today. And that's just to provide additional coverage for the closeout of the land disturbing activity permits for the entire site that includes both Stetson Heights and Stetson Ridge, because the existing bonds that we have are now a few years old, and we wanted to make sure that there was adequate bonding in place to ensure that all work is completed. So the staff recommendation tonight is for the approval of a resolution granting final plat to the Ridge at Stetson Heights.
I move to approve a resolution granting final plat to the Ridge at Stetson Heights.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Chang, a second by Councilmember Rosenthal. Did I get that correct?
Actually, Councilmember Dean,
Yeah,
beat me.
It was over that way.
Yeah.
And discussion? Councilmember Chang, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you for the report, Nick. I was concerned about this project because I do remember the grading in 2018, 2019, and how there was significant runoff into adjacent properties. I just wanted to make sure that we're confident that those issues have been addressed. Not so much that these bonds will cover any possible damage, but that those runoff issues are addressed, I guess.
Yeah, I believe that the runoff issues that we faced are behind us. We did have a difficult storm this past fall, and so there was some runoff that left the Stetson Ridge site and went into some of the common open spaces on the site and got some dirty water into the ponds, but that water did not leave the overall perimeter of Stetson Heights. And two of the bonds that I mentioned include the final soil amendments that have to take place. We basically take organic material and mix it in with the existing soils to ensure that grass and organic material can establish itself. And so that's kind of the final step of stabilizing the site, is making sure that we have soils that will infiltrate and retain precipitation, and then the grasses and other plants that are installed, the hydro seeding that goes down, will actually help take up some of that water and slow the flow leaving the site. And that also ensures that the water that's entering the ponds is clean. And so the common open space areas of the subdivision, that's supposed to be done within 100 days per the bond agreement. And then the individual lots, they'll actually do the soil amendments as they build each house. And so I believe their intent is to start kind of at the bottom or the top of the hill and work their way down and then remove these temporary ponds. And so as they build each house, they'll put in the landscaping, they'll put in the soil amendments, and then that lot will have final stabilization. And so I believe a large chunk of these homes will be built in this coming spring and summer construction season. I imagine that it's going to take 18 months to fully build out the subdivision, but it could be faster than that depending on how the economy goes for the next 18 months.
Councilmember?
Yeah. Well, one comment, I think it's kind of important sometimes to bring this to the business item because of people in the audience. They don't understand maybe what's going on, or people that listen to us or listen again on YouTube. And so I think it's kind of important just to talk about it a little bit more. And then one question is, I believe on the performance bond, that's for all the builders to take care of. Is that correct?
So the performance bond is posted by the developer to guarantee that they will complete all of the remaining tasks that they have under their permit. And so if the builder defaulted, we could pull the bond and we could hire somebody to complete the work ourselves if we chose to do so. So it's really an assurance that the developer will complete that work and it's a financial guarantee. But ultimately, we want the builder to do the work, and it's D.R. Horton's a large company. I'm sure that they will complete what they have agreed to complete, and we have the bond to guarantee that work in the event that they defaulted. And as far as this being on consent or business items, I do want to remind the council that we brought the Division 14 McCormick Woods or McCormick West final plat to you a few weeks ago, and I indicated at that time that the current council membership, that was their first final plat that they had considered as a body. Typically, we do put these on the consent agenda, but if the council does want these always to go on business items, we can certainly do that. But once you're at final plat, you're closing out a permit that's already had a public hearing. The public hearing is the preliminary plat before the hearing examiner, and that's when the public can testify and provide information about the project. The final plat is really just certifying that everything in the preliminary plat has been completed, and so it's more of a formality than actually approving some new development that like what the hearing examiner is tasked with. So if the full council would like this to be on business items for all final plats, I'm happy to do that in the future if you advise me to do so.
Councilmember Chang?
I had a follow-up question for you, Nick. Do we think that the $1 million bonds are sufficient to complete 180 projects if it comes to that?
No, it's not. Sorry. So the bond is just for installing the landscaping, performing the soil amendments.
Not the construction.
And there was some minor wetland mitigation that had to be done, both for temporary buffer impacts on a wetland that's down near what we call Little Glenwood Road. And then there was also some mitigation that had to be done because of past erosion control failures that I think is 90% complete at this point, but there's still a few punch list items. And so they had $1.3 million in bonds as part of Stetson Heights, the previous divisions, and those bonds are still in place. This is adding $1 million to those amounts because those bonds are now 2 and 3 years old, and we wanted to make sure costs have gone up a lot over the last few years. So this is really just supplementing those previous amounts.
Good answer, thank you.
Well, I'll just add that in the end, the city assumes stormwater maintenance, so they do their due diligence to make sure that these are done properly.
All right, you'll be voting on the final plat for the Stetson Ridge. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the final plat has been approved. We don't have any discussion items, and we are to council committee reports. Economic Development Tourism, I believe we met yesterday.
We did, Mayor. We went about an hour. We had a presentation from KEDA on their Q4 output measures and basically recap of 2024. We were joined by their executive director, Joe Morrison, who gave that information. There was a brief discussion around a potential development and a pre-app meeting off of Bethel Road up near China Sun, the property adjacent there, and what some commercial development might look like in the future there. And then we kind of went around the world on a round table at the end of that, finished our final hour. Anything from Main Street to parking to all kinds of stuff downtown. So we covered all those and meet again on the second Monday of March. I believe it's the 10th.
All right, utilities, you met tonight.
We did meet tonight, Mayor, and we had a great presentation by Dennis and 1,000 other people that were on his staff on asset management, and it's amazing what we can do. We've asked that they bring this to the full council, either during work study or during presentation. It was really cool to see, especially since, we've been having problems with as-built and stuff, all the information that we can plug into there. We also had updates on the various projects that are going on. They continue to track on schedule and on budget. So there was really nothing that, outside of that that we needed discussion, so everything's going well. Oh, you want me to move into SAC? Because we did SAC today, too.
Why don't you?
Okay, we had the SAC today and.
So Sewer Advisory Committee.
Sewer Advisory Committee meeting. We had an equipment update. Everything's within budget. There is some equipment that they're buying and plan to buy for upgrading that, as I don't think anybody's surprised, is going to take a year to receive, but it's well within budget right now. The big news was they're still waiting for DOE on some of their permits. That's not unique, and more to follow, but on the other hand, they haven't gotten anything that's of issue with DOE either, Department of Ecology. They had their audit finding meeting today. There were no findings, so that was good news for them. We had someone from the city attend their meeting, so that was good, and our next meeting is May 13th. Anything to add to either one of those, Heidi?
Oh, that's good.
Right, that's where we're at.
Right. Sir? So we're on to Finance Committee meets next week, on next Tuesday. Transportation meets on the 25th, and Land Use meets on the 19th. Anything to share with us on the lodging tax process, Mr. Morrissey?
No, but I was going to, at the end of this meeting, briefly meet with the city clerk to let her know we're good to go to open up our process again, to close probably the following. I wanted to open for a full week, but we'll talk through that. So, and close it looking again only for FIFA-related items.
Thank you for that update. Don't have anything on outside committees. To the mayor's report. I've had a number of meetings in the last week, one with Congressman Randall's office and a conference call with Senator Murray's office, were for the most part centered around federal transportation funding. And, you know, just want to reassure everybody, our city's day-to-day operations are not at all affected by federal funding. That said, impacts to Washington state funding from our federal government could impact future state funding or city funding if the state is impacted. But at this time, there are no impacts from the federal government. What was conveyed to me in these meetings is that things are chaotic and there's a lot of uncertainty on how processes will work going forward. Our federal delegation shared that conversations with various federal agencies provide mixed messages. Our concern is the federal funding we receive for our transportation projects. Unfortunately, I'm told that the Federal Highway Administration is probably the most dysfunctional at this time due to significant changes in leadership and policy directives. We have 5 awards and 4 projects with federal transportation funding. We have 3 projects under contract: the Bay Street pedestrian path, the Bethel-Lincoln roundabout, and the Bay Street road design. These projects may see short-term disruptions as we seek our reimbursements for work performed due to the changes at the federal level. The Bay Street design, as you're probably aware, is at 60%, and the consultant was recently given notice to proceed to 90%. We have $1 million award, and we've drawn $200,000 of that. Any work we do, we have to perform the work first, then get reimbursed from the federal government. So it could in fact impact cash flow to a bit if we're delayed, and because we're tasked that contractor to have this design done by the end of the year. So as you're aware, we've been working to obtain the necessary approvals to phase the Bay Street pedestrian pathway project. Our agent at WashDOT has indicated, due to the change at the federal level, our project approval isn't a high priority at this time, unfortunately. Additionally, he is uncertain at this time by who or how this approval will be obtained because of all the changes that are going on at Federal Highways Administration. The shorter answer is we don't know how long this will take. We also have 2 awards for 2 projects that are not under contract: the Bay Street roadway construction project for $2.2 million and the Bethel and Lund roundabout project that is designed, that we're having the tire compound issues that needs additional review from the federal government. I'm told that projects not under contract are paused and will be placed under additional review. And I was told that projects related to climate or equity initiatives are in jeopardy. So that's what I've learned from the meetings over the past week. And that concludes my mayor's report. Wish it was better news, but there's a lot of uncertainty. So let's go to our department heads.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I just wanted to take a few moments and recognize staff. Last week we had a bit of snow and ice, and a lot of credit to staff. This goes all the way to our clerk's office, who probably was tired of our posts that we kept on the updates for road closures and current conditions. Our police department, we had some pre-event meetings. Chief Brown was ready to activate our emergency operations center. Staff, early in the fall each year, we do a dry run. We set up all of our equipment. We make sure all of our salt, all of our de-icers are prepared. Our plows work. Watching the weather, we were ready when it hit. I think by Wednesday is the day that was the worst, but we were able to pre-treat in advance. Every storm is different, but a lot of work. Our administrative staff answered the phones, questions. I am pleased to report this is the first storm event that I've ever been through that only positive accolades from our citizens. So just wanted to shout out a kudos to them. So thank you.
Nice work, Dennis.
Director Ryan, can I have a follow-up question? Somebody just asked this to me. I don't believe it's in our purview at the moment, but a neighboring city, you can go online and watch where their plows have been. Have we looked into anything like that, or is that on our radar to bring for funding in the future?
We are actually in the infancy stages of doing a pilot right now. That's with our IT department. We call it Fleet Telematics. I don't know if we'd ever publish real time. Some agencies have liability questions with that as far as who's where and when, what, and where. But like a delayed 6-hour post, this road's been plowed, things like that I think can happen. But we are exploring that as something that Director Crocker is looking at with IT for telematics.
Thank you.
It's more designed to track maintenance of the vehicles, and so on and so forth, but it has other applications. Mr. Bond?
Yeah, just one announcement tonight. We have an interlocal agreement with the South Kitsap School District concerning the collection of school impact fees. And earlier today, I forwarded to you their annual report. So pursuant to the interlocal agreement, they're to give us an annual report explaining what money was receipted in and how they spent any funds that are in their impact fee account and what their current balances are. And so I just wanted to report that came to you via email, and they've met their annual obligation under the ILA. The report actually, I don't believe, in our code is due until March, and so the city's report will come from the finance department and myself in another couple of weeks.
Archer.
Thank you so much. Just very briefly, I know this council is tracking legislation to a greater degree than some of the other boards that I work with, but I just want to flag a couple. The Public Records Public Records Act amendment that I flagged at our last council meeting is still alive, and that's the one that would create a separate cause of action for requests from current and former employees for their personnel files, and would set a ticking clock for providing those, or else facing an automatic monetary penalty. Another would be the fact that AI would be a mandatory bargaining effort with our unions, the use of AI when it affects the working conditions of employees. So that would be an interesting one to implement. And then a third, just I'm sure everyone's aware, but the House Bill 1380, which is related to the regulation of the utilization of public property. This would create a standard for regulating trespassing on public property, particularly targeted at the unhoused community, and require that any regulation of use of your public facilities are subject to a time, place, and manner evaluation and an objectively reasonable standard. So it's a difficult bill to parse. I'd be happy to discuss it offline, but it would further inform the methods available to public agencies with regards to regulating the use of their public facilities. And that one is still alive. So thanks so much.
I have a question.
Ms. Archer, I was are you following out 1334 in the House as well? And was there action? I know there was action today out of committee. It's the evenings where I check those, but that's on the levy lids.
Yeah, I'm clicking quickly. I'm not sure. I don't have a
property
real-time,
tax?
but I can
Okay.
look during the
Okay.
rest of the meeting. So, yeah.
I'm interested in hearing more about AI as a potential bargaining issue. And we don't have to talk about it now. Maybe you can email something to us.
Yeah, I'll send the bill report. It's an
Very
interesting one.
curious, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as well, the next item that we talked about, the bill affecting public properties. I'm curious about that as well.
Absolutely. The bill report on that's much more robust since they've had a hearing already, so you get to see the pro and con statement. So I'll circulate that as well.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So, and we have a management team working group that's talking through policies that we may or may not ask you to adopt in the future related to this. So we're just talking about it and looking at the applications and whether or not we need policies in place to address it. And, more to come.
And I think we're down there next week.
Yes.
For AWC. I was there last week for something else. And
AWC event, and then we've got our legislative event in the works. I think it's in March.
What is the date, Mayor?
I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Couldn't either.
You'll all be happy to hear I was down there for something completely different, and Josh was there hard working in the halls. I saw him probably 4 or 5 times last week. So,
Chief Brown?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a couple. I just wanted to give a big shout out to our staff from all levels, but especially Deputy Chief Brandon. So we are coming up on our 4-year accreditation process and submitting all of our documents on Friday for review next week. I have zero doubt that there's going to be any issues. We've done a pretty good job downstairs of operationalizing all of that. But I believe there's now 152 standards, but compiling all of that has been a pretty heavy lift, so I'm very complimentary of them. Another issue that got brought up recently by Councilmember Chang, there was a woman in town that had scared off a prowler and chased him, and then the comments from the public were, well, you need to go to the police station at 3 in the morning on Saturday and report that. And so I just want to use this forum to remind our community that if you want a police officer, whether for emergency or non-emergency purposes, you need to call 911. We do not dispatch out of downstairs. In general, that is just going to be professional staff and maybe a command staff officer, and we aren't always in uniform. So just a reminder, if you need a law enforcement person for any reason, just call 911. Thank you.
Clerk Wallace.
Is there a sign outside the doors downstairs that advises that as well?
We can certainly look into that.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. Just wanted to let you guys know that we have, the clerk's office instituted constant contacts for notifying the public of notices. Right now, we just have one big long list of anything that is not related to the agenda. And so here pretty soon we'll be reaching out to those people that have subscribed, I guess. And then give them the option to decide the different types of noticing that they want. Maybe they just want street closures, maybe they just want garbage service or whatever it may be. So there'll be some more options out there. So we're hoping to roll that out in the next couple weeks.
nice.
All right. We are to our second citizen comment period. Is anyone wishing to address the council? You have 3 minutes.
Another agenda. I do believe I talked to the mayor the other day for the coffee meet and greet about the. So I live in the original, what would have been the original town of Sydney, right? The Sydney area. Right up the street here, it's the original town of Sydney before it was renamed Orchard. That's where I live. That's where I've been for 20 years. I live in a house that was built in the 40s. That's like I believe that would be the old growth that's giving you your green belt protections for Orchard Boulevard. And right where my property is, in that like 5 to 10 block square, or 10 acre square, is some of the largest of the old growth left that would be from, some of the largest left from before this place was logged, that was left in the original loggings. Currently, my neighbor has been in the process of trying to damage those illegally. You couldn't get the permits to chop them down, being the old growth they are there. So he's buried them with dirt and other types of things in an attempt to do damage. I believe that would be in an attempt to target the greenbelt protections of Fortune Boulevard. As any of you would know, I did construction for 20 years, anything from small-end residential to high-end commercial, including, you know, many million-dollar homes, possibly some of your friends' homes in that. I did quite a bit of that type of work for some time. This guy's work would seem to be that it's targeting to force the greenbelt protections to go away or to develop that property there. Looking at it, it would definitely be very high value property if the protections were gone and a developer with 20, 50, $60 million wanted to build condos there. They'd be very high end and much more valuable than the ones you have across the water there on the Bremerton waterfront, because not only this city, you know, is a little bit more friendly and high-end location, but it's a better view. So, in looking at this guy, I've been living next to him and watching him work for a couple of years, and as I stated some of my previous training and what have you, I'm also a world-class gamer, and I did construction for 20 years. Documented world-class gamer. Kind of my skill set to be able to see when somebody's trying to intentionally do damage like that. Right? That's why I study. It would appear that he's been doing so. Currently, they seem to be in a process of trying to stop him from doing that. Told him to do some cleanup. While he started doing cleanup, he turned around and started doing some damage. Clean up here, and while cleaning up here, do damage there. I'm sure you've seen that in some of the people you've dealt with before. This is a little bit higher end version of that type of scenario. So I've dealt with very nice people in the past that are very pleasant and do things well. I've also had the misfortune or the fortune of learning from being around some that were not so pleasant. This man is definitely using not so pleasant tactics.
Sir, your time is up.
But if you continue on to...
Sir, your time is up. Please have a seat.
I just wanted to add that there is a code enforcement issue on this topic. It was brought up in the January Coffee with Council, and Nick is aware of the issue. It's an active code enforcement issue.
Councilmember Chang. Anyone else wishing to address the council? Anyone online, use the raise your hand feature and we would bring you into the council meeting. All right, seeing none, we'll close the second citizen comment period. Anything for the good of the order? Councilmember Trineri, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. I wanted to put a shout out to Public Works. It was already mentioned by Dennis, but they did a great job during this storm that we just had. All the roads that I traveled on, which I went around purposefully to see how things were looking, and they looked very good. So I was very happy about that. And I also wanted to give a shout out again to Public Works because I noticed some pickleball wind nets were installed at Van Zee on the tennis/pickleball courts. And that's a great thing. I play a little bit of pickleball here and there, and the wind does swirl around in there. So I'm looking forward to when the weather gets above 40 degrees, get out there and give those things 50? A shot. So thanks for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. McGee. I think that sounds like a great topic, maybe that we could address at Economic Development in our committee to just take that up a little further. While I can understand maybe some of your thoughts, I think that license is actually there to help protect your business. I might have you look at a neighboring city and a business in Brother Don's where they've had issues, and that license has actually helped them as a business. So more to come on that.
And I would just add that I was thinking it was a land use committee issue as well.
Okay, yeah, and it could be, but
Yes.
A business has to apply for it. So we'll look at it, and one of us will take that on.
Absolutely.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Yep.
All right, anything else for the good of the order? Councilmember Rosebuddy, go ahead.
One thing, two things actually. One, I'd like to thank all the citizens that voted in today's election that's going on. They have till 8 o'clock to get their ballots in. Also, second thing is Councilmember Ward and myself were at the McCormick Woods Homeowner Association meeting. I'll send a note via Brandy about topics that were discussed. We had about 15 people show up there, so we were surprised when we sat in on that. And nothing that was earth-shattering, but it was good to get feedback, and I'll send that email to Brandy so she can distribute to everybody. So thank you.
To our last piece of business, which is an executive session, and you want to state the statutes and how long do you think?
Certainly. So the council will enter into an executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-110, subpart 1, subpart I, for approximately 15 minutes with no action to follow.
Closing the meeting out at the end, so.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
It's good to be mayor pro tem.
Recording stopped.